Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now in this video, I want to talk about what to do if your tenants don't pay. What's the best steps and making sure that that gets resolved as quickly and as cheaply as possible. Now this channel is for property investors or people that want to get into property investing. I'm documenting my journey. Last year we got a couple of properties for my daughters, Georgia and Emily, and you can see all of that on the channel by watching the older videos. And we've got loads of great stuff coming up in 2023. So while you're here, take that finger of power, smash that subscribe button. Go on, do it right now and hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification. Sorry, we're nearly at 4,000 subscribers. So maybe you're watching this and you will be the 4,000th subscriber. So that will really help. And we're on the journey to 5,000 subscribers now. So tenants. The tenants are they're your customers in your property business, right? And so a lot of people that want to get into property just have this perception that you're going to get constant tenant issues. They're not going to pay. You're going to have to evict them. And in all honesty, I've only had a couple of bad experiences with tenants. In fact, I had one where the property was really left in bad condition. And the tenant, we obviously used the deposit to fix up the property. But I also, it costs a lot more than the deposit to fix it. I assumed that we weren't going to get that part and they paid it, right? And we got the property put back to normal in 5 days and back on the market, and we lost about a week and a half of rent. That was it. I've had tenants that have got into financial difficulty. I'm going to talk about what I did with those scenarios and what you could do to protect yourself that little bit more. So to get a tenant to pay you, actually, it starts earlier than when they stop paying you. And so it's very, very important that you really set the tenancy up to succeed from the beginning. So I will always use an agent. I always have. I've never, ever rented direct. And in fact, I get in my Dorking properties, that's where the area that I'm based, that's where I am right now. When my properties go on Rightmove, people know, local people know, friends and stuff know, oh, that's one of my flats. And particularly because maybe we've been mates and we went down the pub and we've had a few beers before the pub or something like that back in the day. And so often I get messages when my properties go back on the market saying, can I just rent from you direct? I always push them back to the estate agent, even if I could save a few quid, because I don't want to have a problem if they don't pay. The estate agent can be the bad cop for you, right? So it's first and foremost, go through an agent. That's very, very important. And why you should do that is one of the first things the agent's going to do is take references on that tenant, right? So they're going to check that they're employed. They're going to check their bank statements and check they've got an income coming in, because that's very, very important. They're also going to check with previous tenancies that they've had. Now, you've got to take that one with a pinch of salt, because if they're somewhere at the moment and they're really a pain for that landlord, they might get a good reference because the landlord just wants to move them on to you and get them out of his property. So that one is maybe one you take with a pinch of salt. But all the other stuff is really, really important. And agents know what to look for, right? They can see, that tenant there, they don't have a regular income. Maybe they get $5,000 in 1 month and then they don't get paid for a couple of months after that. And so that's important to look for that kind of stuff and make sure that they check out on references. That is going to start the process that little bit better. And then there's got to be important documents that we make sure that we have in place for that tenancy. Because if you don't have these, then when you actually try and remove them, you legally won't be allowed to do that. And so running through an agent will tick all of these boxes for you. But they'll check, for example, that there's an AST, which is an assured short hold tenancy. They will have those documents there. They'll also check, which could get you in a sticky situation as a landlord, that person has the right to rent in the UK. So they'll do the background checks to do that. Now, they'll also, as an agent, push you that you can't rent the property until you've got a gas safe certificate, that you've got the EICR, which is the electrical certificate. So the gas safety certificate must be done every single year. The electrical certificate is, I think, around every 5 years. That's a newer one, or maybe with a change of tenancy as well. I need to you can look into that with your agent and just see. But it's very important that this stuff is done, guys. Do you get it? That's very, very important, because if it's not, then you're going to have no chance of getting the tenant out in the first place, right? So set yourself up for success at the beginning, right? If you're finding this useful so far, give me a quick like on the video. That helps with YouTube. Next, look, tenants are going to get into difficulty. And so with the things like the pandemic, there were certain people's jobs that they didn't get furlough, or they just couldn't go to work, or maybe they were self-employed and couldn't get a bounce back loan or something like that. So the first thing that happens when we have a tenant that's struggling is talk to them. Find out the story that's going on, because what happens is people put their head in the sand. And so it's the agent's role here to start dialogue with this person. Actually just find out, why have they not paid? Before you start sending threatening letters to them, find out what's happened. Maybe they've been made redundant and they're just about to get a new job, right? So maybe they just had a short-term cash flow issue and they can get back up and running fairly quickly. But if you don't have a conversation with them, you've got no indication on what's going on. And I have found that I have had tenants that have got in slight arrears, a few weeks here and there, and having a conversation resolves it way better than going in hard straight away with eviction notices and threats. No one likes that. Then they're annoyed with you and they're more likely to pay you late again. So starting the conversation is a good thing. And then have some compassion. Be a human, right? We all get in difficult scenarios. I've had businesses that have failed, and I've had friends that have lost really, really high-powered jobs that were on hundreds of thousands of pounds, and then it's gone in a blink of an eye. All different scenarios happen. And so be compassionate and kind to that person and see if you can work out some sort of solution. Now, we have a tenant that over Christmas, he is an Amazon delivery driver, right? He hurt his back when he was going to make the best income of the whole year. And so what we found was that it was difficult for him to pay monthly, so we flipped him on to weekly payments, because that's when he got paid. And so when he got back to work, it wasn't realistic to ask him to pay big lumps of some money to catch up. So we created a payment plan, but we did it on a weekly basis because we knew that he got paid every Friday. That happened by talking to that tenant. And that tenant's caught up with their payments now, which is great. And so that's really, really important, that you try and work out a payment plan that they can stick to. So say, for example, they were a month in arrears, then is it realistic that they're going to be able to pay you 2 months the next month? Probably not. And so you need to work out a payment plan that they can stick to, because if they break it, they're just going to start ignoring you again, and that's not going to work for anyone. Now, if you do get to a point where nothing is working, they're ignoring you, they're not catching up with payments, a payment plan isn't working, then you need to start the eviction process. And there's 2 types of notice that you can give to them. There is a Section 8, and that is where it's their fault. They've done something wrong. Maybe they've caused damage to your property, or they've broken the terms of the AST. So that's a Section 8. That's when they've done something wrong. And if they're in arrears, then they've pretty much done something wrong, haven't they? They've broken the terms of the assured short hold tenancy, because the terms are that they will pay you promptly every single month, right? And so they've broken that. So that's one way. The second is a no-fault eviction. Now, this is called Section 21, and right now it still works. But the government are talking about removing that. Now, according to the government website, you can just serve both of these. So if they haven't paid, then you can send both notices at the same time. Then if you do need to go to court, then you've done everything in your power to make it fair for them, and you've done it in a legal way. Now, these sorts of notices, you don't just send them by email or text message. you need to send them recorded delivery. So when it goes to court, if it goes to court, a lot of people will just leave. But if it did go to court, you've got proof that they actually received that document. That's very, very important. And so I would serve both of those papers at the same time, and the agent will do that on your behalf. So the estate agent is the one that's going to do that on your behalf. But the thing that you need to do with your get tenants that are in arrears is act fast. The longer you leave it, the bigger the arrears, the less likely they're going to be able to catch up. Talk to them, have some compassion, work out payment plans. There's tons of stuff that you can do to get this resolved. But make sure before you do any of this that you're compliant. If you're not compliant, it's not going to be an option to evict them, and then they could sit in your property for months, if not years, and you can't even get the stuff done that you need to do. So if you didn't have your gas safe up to date, if you didn't have your EICR up to date, if there was any work that the council said that you have to do that you haven't done, all of these things will contribute to you not being able to evict that tenant. So it's vital that you make sure that you're compliant and everything is all good. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's useful for you guys. Any questions, do comment below. Any opinions, do comment below. Do like the video if you didn't already. We're also, we made a video recently about how you can get a house for £1. And that's very useful in this market. It's called a lease option. I made a video on that. Go and check that out right here.